The day the auxiliary ships appeared in Earth's sky, everything changed. Massive dark vessels blocked the sun over major cities. They were smooth and sleek, unlike anything humans had built. People stood in streets, on rooftops, and at windows, looking up with fear. Admiral Frank Porter sat in the Pentagon War Room, surrounded by screens showing the alien fleet. 73 ships, each bigger than an aircraft carrier. His hands gripped the edge of the table as reports came in from around the world. "They're not responding to any communication attempts," said Communications Officer Ryan Bell. The largest screen flickered, then showed an alien face. It had pale blue skin, large black eyes, and no visible nose. When it spoke, its thin lips barely moved. "People of Earth, we are the Auxiliary Dominion. Your planet is now under our control. Surrender your governments to our authority within 48 hours, or face elimination." The room fell silent. Porter studied the alien's face, noting the look of boredom, almost contempt. "Show me our available assets," Porter ordered. Another screen displayed Earth's space defenses, 6 orbital platforms, 12 armed satellites, and 3 small space cruisers that had never been tested in combat. "That's it?" Porter asked. "Yes, sir. Our Earth-based weapons can't reach their altitude," answered Defense Secretary Laura Walsh. "And based on our scans, their ships have energy shielding we can't penetrate," added Dr. Paul Green, chief scientist. Porter stood up and paced. "They expect us to fight conventionally, but we won't win that way." He turned to the room. "We need every space-capable vehicle and structure we have. Satellites, space station modules, research vessels, everything." Secretary Walsh frowned. "Admiral, those aren't warships." "No, they're not," Porter agreed. "But they're all we have." The door opened, and Lieutenant Olivia Martinez entered. At 32, she was younger than most officers of her rank, known for thinking differently. "Lieutenant Martinez," Porter said, "what would you do if you had to fight an enemy with superior technology and firepower?" Martinez didn't hesitate. "I wouldn't fight their way, sir. I'd use what they don't expect." Porter nodded. "Exactly. Lieutenant, I'm putting you in charge of our new fleet." "New fleet, sir?" Porter gestured at the screen showing Earth's limited defenses. "Not these. I mean everything else we can throw into space. Decommissioned satellites, old station parts, science vessels, cargo ships, everything." General Richard Benson stood up angrily. "This is madness. We can't fight an advanced alien species with space junk." "We can't beat them with conventional tactics either," Porter replied calmly. "Lieutenant Martinez, your background in unconventional warfare and your engineering degree make you perfect for this." Martinez looked at the alien ships on screen, then back to Porter. "They'll laugh at us, sir." "Let them laugh," Porter said. "While they're laughing, they won't see what we're really doing." Within hours, space agencies around the world received new orders. NASA redirected its resources. The International Space Station began preparations. Companies with space capabilities offered their assets. Martinez established her command center and started reviewing everything available. The list was strange and varied: weather satellites, space telescopes, orbital laboratories, tourist vessels, and even garbage collectors designed to clean up space debris. "It's going to be a fleet of misfits," she told Porter during their first progress meeting. "The aliens already think we're primitive," Porter replied. "This will only convince them more." On the third day, Auxiliary scout ships captured images of Earth's preparations, the small, mismatched vessels being readied for space, the outdated technology being repurposed, the civilian craft being fitted with makeshift weapons. The images were broadcast to the auxiliary fleet. Commander Vexthar's laughter echoed through their communication channels. "They send toys against our warships," he told his officers. "This planet will fall more easily than we thought." Back on Earth, Lieutenant Martinez watched the auxiliary broadcasts that had been intercepted and translated. "Let them laugh," she said quietly. echoing Porter's words. They don't know humans yet. Chief Engineer Alan Murphy hadn't slept in 3 days. His workspace in the NASA facility was covered with blueprints, coffee cups, and half-eaten sandwiches. He wiped sweat from his forehead as he studied the plans for converting a weather satellite into something that could fight. "This won't work," he muttered, crumpling another paper. "We need more firepower." The door opened and Lieutenant Martinez walked in. "How's it coming, Chief?" Murphy gestured at the mess. "These satellites were never meant to be weapons, Lieutenant. The best I can do is turn them into decoys or kamikaze drones." "That might be exactly what we need," Martinez said. "Keep working." Outside the window, the sky had turned an eerie purple where the auxiliary ships hovered. Their blockade now circled Earth completely, blocking all conventional routes to space. Martinez left Murphy and headed to the main hangar where dozens of engineers worked on various spacecraft. Some were attaching metal plates to civilian shuttles. Others were dismantling scientific equipment to repurpose the parts. "Lieutenant," a voice called from beneath a rusty satellite. Sam Collins, a space station technician, slid out on a creeper board. His face and hands were black with grease. "I found something interesting," he said, wiping his hands on a rag. "The auxiliary sensors. They have a blind spot." Martinez knelt beside him. "What kind of blind spot?" Collins held up a piece of metal. "This is an old copper-aluminum alloy we used in the first generation of satellites. When I was testing different materials against the alien scan patterns we've recorded, this one barely registered." "You're saying they can't see this?" "Not exactly. But their sensors don't register it clearly. It's fuzzy to them." Collins pointed to another discovery. "And certain radiation signatures from our older nuclear-powered satellites seem to create static in their systems." Martinez's eyes widened. "Could we use this to hide our approach?" "Possibly. If we coat key vessels with this alloy and position our nuclear components strategically, we might be able to create shadows in their detection grid." For the first time in days, Martinez felt a flicker of hope. Across the facility, Dr. Linda Bauman was having a breakthrough of her own. She had been studying the propulsion systems from old mining equipment used on asteroid expeditions. "The thrust-to-weight ratio is all wrong," she told her team. "But if we reconfigure it this way," she sketched a new design on the whiteboard, "we can get twice the maneuverability from half the fuel." When Martinez arrived for an update, Bauman could barely contain her excitement. "Lieutenant, these mining rigs were designed to make quick, precise movements around asteroids. If we adapt their systems to our fleet, we'll have ships that can change direction faster than anything the auxiliary might expect from us." "Will it work on the larger vessels?" "No," Bauman admitted, "but on the smaller ones, absolutely." Days passed as the makeshift fleet took shape. What they lacked in firepower, they made up for in numbers. Over 300 vessels of various sizes were being prepared. Satellites, station modules, scientific platforms, even space tourism shuttles. Then disaster struck. Someone leaked images of the fleet to the public. Citizens saw their defenders. Rusty satellites, outdated shuttles, and cobbled-together spacecraft that looked nothing like proper warships. Panic spread. News outlets ran stories questioning humanity's strategy. "This junk will save us," read one headline. Another showed side-by-side comparisons of the sleek auxiliary warships next to Earth's scrap heap. Admiral Porter called an emergency meeting. "Morale is collapsing," he told Martinez and the other project leaders. "People see our fleet, and they're losing hope." "The auxiliary are watching too," added Secretary Walsh. "They're broadcasting these images across their fleet. We've intercepted their communications. They're laughing at us." Martinez stood up. "Let them laugh. We're not building warships. We're building a trap." "Explain," Porter said. Martinez nodded to Collins, who pulled up his findings about the sensor blind spots. Then to Bauman, who explained the enhanced maneuverability systems. "The auxiliary see junk," Martinez said, But we're creating the most unconventional fighting force ever assembled. And their greatest weakness is they don't believe we can hurt them. Porter studied the plans, then nodded slowly. Continue the work. Let both our people and the Auxiliary underestimate us. It might be our only advantage. The main screen in Earth's command center switched to an incoming transmission. The blue face of Commander Vexthar appeared. His thin lips curled in what humans recognized as a smile. People of Earth, the alien said, we have observed your preparations. He paused as several auxiliary officers behind him made choking sounds that might have been laughter. As a gesture of goodwill, we extend your surrender deadline by 2 additional weeks. Your efforts have provided much entertainment for our troops. The screen showed images captured by auxiliary scouts. Earth's mismatched vessels being prepared, some still with commercial logos visible, others clearly cobbled together from spare parts. The transmission ended with the sound of alien laughter. Admiral Porter turned to the silent room. They're mocking us. Good, Martinez said. Let them underestimate us. The mockery continued. The auxiliary began broadcasting regular updates showing Earth's fleet alongside their own powerful warships. They added commentary explaining how each human vessel would be destroyed in seconds. They even created betting pools among their soldiers about which Earth ship would be vaporized first. These broadcasts were intercepted and seen by people across Earth. Some fell deeper into despair, but others found their anger rising. Captain Nathan Howard watched the broadcasts from the retrofitting bay where his vessel, once a supply ship for the space station, was being prepared. At 62, Howard had come out of retirement to volunteer. He had been the first human to land on Mars, though few remembered that now. They think this is funny, he said to the engineers working nearby. They think we're weak because our ships aren't pretty. A young technician nodded sadly. My family thinks we're all going to die. Howard stood up straight. Let me tell you something about humans. His voice grew stronger, and people around him stopped to listen. We've always made greatness from garbage. When we couldn't afford fancy tools, we made our own. When we didn't have enough resources, we found new ways to use what we had. The first airplane was built in a bicycle shop. The first computer filled a room and had less power than a modern watch. Someone started recording him on a phone. The auxiliary laugh because they don't understand humans. They don't know that our greatest victories have always come when our backs were against the wall. Let them laugh while they can. The speech spread across the internet. It was translated into dozens of languages. Let them laugh while they can became a rallying cry. At a different facility, civilian engineer Grace Williams was making a breakthrough. She had been studying the radiation signatures that Sam Collins had discovered were hard for auxiliary to detect. It's not just that they can't see certain signatures well, she explained to Martinez. It's that when multiple signatures converge, they create what looks like empty space to auxiliary sensors. You mean we could make our ships invisible? Martinez asked. Not invisible, but I can make parts of our fleet look like nothing but background radiation noise. They would register as space junk too small to be a threat. Williams demonstrated using a simulator. When she arranged certain radiation signatures in specific patterns, the auxiliary detection system showed only scattered dots rather than solid objects. If we position our ships correctly, Williams said, we can hide an entire attack force in what looks like harmless debris. Martinez immediately brought the discovery to Admiral Porter, together with the other advantages they had found. The sensor-blocking metals, the enhanced maneuverability systems, they now had the beginnings of a real strategy. Porter called a secret meeting with all fleet commanders. The room was secured against any possible auxiliary surveillance. Operation Hidden Sting, Porter announced, revealing the name of their plan. While the auxiliary continue to laugh at our visible preparations, we'll be positioning our true attack force in ways they cannot detect. He turned to Martinez. Lieutenant, explain the strategy. Martinez stood before the gathered commanders. The auxiliary believe they know what we're capable of. They think they've seen our entire fleet. They're wrong. She brought up diagrams showing how Earth's vessels would be arranged, utilizing all their discovered advantages. The Xilari expect us to charge straight at them like in their previous conquests. They expect us to fight like they do. We won't. We'll fight like humans always have when outmatched, with ingenuity, with surprise, and with courage. For the first time since the aliens arrived, the commanders began to believe they might have a chance. With 10 days left before the extended deadline, Earth's military put Operation Hidden Sting into action. The scrap fleet was divided into 5 groups, each with a specific purpose. Major Doug Peterson led the reconnaissance team. Using small, fast craft coated in the special metal alloy Sam Collins had discovered, they slipped past the outer edges of the Xilari blockade. Their mission was to gather detailed information about the alien ships. All craft maintain radio silence, Peterson ordered. Use only the secure laser communication system. For 3 days, Peterson's team observed the Xilari fleet. They recorded movement patterns, communication frequencies, and most importantly, weapon systems. On the 4th day, Peterson made an important discovery. Look at this, he told his second-in-command, pointing at a recording. Every time they power up their main weapons, there's this energy surge here. The video showed a Xilari ship firing at a piece of space debris. Just before firing, a wave of blue energy rippled across the ship's hull. And look at the timing, Peterson continued. 5 seconds between the energy surge and the actual weapon discharge. 5 seconds, his officer repeated. That's a lifetime. In a battle. Peterson immediately sent the data back to Earth using their secure laser system. When Martinez received the information, she called in weapons specialist Heather Bennett. Can we use this? Bennett studied the footage. If we know they're about to fire, we have a 5-second window where they might be vulnerable. She pointed to specific areas on the Xilari ships. These sections light up first. If we hit them during that energy surge, we might disrupt their firing sequence. Meanwhile, communications specialist Kelly Rodriguez was solving another problem: how to coordinate the actions of hundreds of different spacecraft, many with incompatible systems. It's like trying to make 1,000 different musical instruments play the same song, she explained to Martinez. Each one speaks a different language. Rodriguez developed a new system that translated commands into formats each vessel could understand. More importantly, it allowed the entire fleet to appear chaotic while actually following a precise plan. To the Xilari, we'll look disorganized, Rodriguez said, but every ship will know exactly what to do and when. As the deadline approached, Earth's visible fleet, the one the Xilari had been mocking, prepared to launch. These ships would serve as the distraction, drawing attention away from the hidden parts of the fleet that were already moving into position. The night before the operation was to begin, Martinez couldn't sleep. She walked through the hangar where her command ship was being prepared. It had once been a luxury tourist vessel for orbital vacations. Now it was stripped down, reinforced, and filled with military equipment. Admiral Porter found her there, staring at the mismatched fleet. "Having doubts, Lieutenant?" he asked. "No, sir. Just thinking about what's at stake." Porter nodded. "Everything is at stake, but I believe in this plan. I believe in you." "The Xilari have conquered 17 other worlds," Martinez said. "What makes us different?" "Those worlds tried to fight the Xilari on their terms," Porter replied. "We're fighting on our terms. That's what humans do best." At dawn, the visible portion of Earth's fleet launched. News cameras captured the moment, broadcasting it worldwide. People watched from their homes as the strange collection of vessels rose into the sky. Some prayed. Others cried. Most just watched in silence, wondering if this was the last day of human independence. In his command ship, Xilari Commander Vexthar observed the human fleet's approach on his view screens. "They actually believe they can fight us," he said, amused. "Prepared to give them a demonstration of our power. But don't destroy them too quickly. I want Earth to see their fleet fail." His second-in-command laughed. They send garbage against our warships. This will be the easiest conquest yet. On her command ship, Martinez received confirmation that all 5 divisions were in position. The visible fleet was drawing the auxiliaries' attention exactly as planned. All units, she said into her communication system. Prepare for Phase 1. Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. Then she gave the order that would change everything. Begin Operation Hidden Sting. The scrap fleet approached the auxiliary blockade in what looked like a random, disorganized formation. Some ships moved too fast, others too slow. Several appeared to be drifting off course. Look at them, Commander Vexthar said, watching the humans approach on his main screen. They can't even maintain a proper formation. The auxiliary command crew laughed as they broadcast the approaching human fleet to all their ships. They wanted every soldier to enjoy the spectacle of Earth's pathetic resistance. Let them get closer, Vexthar ordered. I want the humans to see clearly as we destroy their fleet. Lieutenant Jack Miller piloted his vessel at the front of the human formation. His ship had once been a space tug used to move cargo. Now it carried mining explosives in its hull. As planned, Miller's ship began to wobble and spin, appearing to malfunction. The lead human vessel is experiencing technical difficulties, an auxiliary officer reported, barely containing his amusement. Of course it is, Vexthar replied. Their technology is primitive. Miller's ship spun faster, veering directly toward one of the smaller auxiliary destroyers. The alien vessel made no attempt to move, confident in its shields. They're going to collide with Destroyer 7, the auxiliary officer said, now sounding slightly concerned. Let them, Vexthar answered. Our shields will vaporize them on impact. It will make a good example for the rest. Miller waited for the perfect moment. When his ship was just seconds from impact, he activated the explosives. His ship didn't hit the auxiliary destroyer directly. Instead, it exploded about 50 meters away, creating a massive cloud of debris and radiation. The explosion itself did no damage to the alien ship, but it created exactly the effect Earth had planned. The radiation signature temporarily blinded the destroyer's sensors, creating a gap in the auxiliary detection network. Minor explosion near Destroyer 7. The auxiliary officer reported. No damage to our vessel. Sensors temporarily affected. Irrelevant, Vexthar said. Prepare to open fire on the main human fleet. What Vexthar didn't see was what happened in the sensor blind spot. Hundreds of small human craft, previously hidden as background radiation, suddenly surged through the gap. Using the stealth technology developed by Grace Williams, they had been positioned nearby for days, appearing as nothing but space junk to auxiliary sensors. These small vessels, each piloted by a single person, carried one weapon designed specifically for the 5-second vulnerability window Peterson had discovered. The first wave targeted 3 auxiliary battleships that were powering up their weapons. As the blue energy rippled across the alien hulls, the human craft fired directly at the glowing sections. The results shocked everyone, even the humans. The targeted auxiliary ships shuddered as their weapon systems overloaded. Secondary explosions cascaded along their hulls. One battleship split completely in half. For a moment, there was silence on the auxiliary command ship. 3 battleships damaged. An officer finally reported, his voice shaking. Battleship 9 destroyed. Battleships 4 and 17 severely damaged. Impossible, Vexthar shouted. How could primitive weapons do this? While the auxiliaries struggled to understand what was happening, Martinez gave the signal for the second phase of the attack. The visible portion of Earth's fleet, the scrap heap the aliens had mocked, suddenly broke into precise formations. Rather than charging forward as expected, they executed a complex maneuver that surrounded several more auxiliary vessels. All ships target their weapon systems during the energy surge, Martinez ordered. 5-second window. Make it count. More auxiliary ships began to fall. Their commanders, trained to fight against conventional attacks, couldn't adapt to the human strategy. They had never faced an enemy that targeted them during their weapons charge cycle. Their combat computers had no programmed response. Rage replaced Vexthar's shock. All ships, full attack. Destroy every human vessel. No more games. The massive Xelari fleet broke their careful blockade formation and surged toward what they believed were the primary human warships. Their disciplined formation dissolved as individual commanders sought to destroy the suddenly threatening humans. Martinez watched the Xelari ships scatter on her display. "They took the bait," she said quietly. "Now for the real attack." The Xelari ships broke formation, spreading out to chase what they thought were Earth's main fighting vessels. In reality, these were empty decoys, old satellites and space station modules broadcasting false energy signatures that made them appear important. "The Xelari fleet is splitting up," reported Kelly Rodriguez from her communications station. "Just as we planned." Martinez nodded. "Begin Phase 3. Tell Chief Bennett to activate the mining lasers." In the weapons control room, Chief Weapons Officer Heather Bennett had been waiting for this moment. Under her command were 50 repurposed mining vessels. Their industrial lasers had been modified to emit energy on a specific frequency, one that Rodriguez's team had discovered would resonate with Xelari shield systems. "All mining units, power up and target the command vessels," Bennett ordered. "Remember, continuous beam, don't pulse." The mining ships moved into position. Unlike military weapons that delivered massive energy in short bursts, these mining lasers were designed to cut slowly and steadily through asteroid rock. When they fired at the Xelari shields, something unexpected happened. Instead of being absorbed or deflected, the steady beam caused the shields to vibrate. The vibration grew stronger as more lasers joined in, all firing at the same frequency. The Xelari shields began to glow brighter and brighter. On the Xelari command ship, alarms blared. "Shield resonance critical on vessels 12 through 27, an officer shouted. "The humans are using some kind of interference technology." Commander Vexthar stared at his displays in disbelief. Multiple shield failures were reported across his fleet. Ships that had never been damaged in battle were now vulnerable. "This is impossible," he muttered. "Their technology is too primitive for this." Another officer turned from his station. "Commander, we're detecting hundreds of additional human vessels. They were hidden somehow. Our sensors didn't see them until now." The true size of Earth's fleet was finally revealed. The Xelari had been tracking only about a third of the human vessels. The rest had remained hidden using Grace Williams' stealth system, waiting for this moment. As the mining lasers continued to disrupt the Xelari shields, the rest of Earth's fleet moved in. They targeted the now vulnerable alien ships with everything they had, from repurposed satellite thrusters to cargo ship grappling arms to simple kinetic projectiles. The Xelari tactical computers couldn't predict the humans' attack patterns because they weren't military patterns at all. Many of the human vessels were piloted by civilian volunteers, space tourists, cargo pilots, and scientists who didn't follow standard combat procedures. A group of weather satellites, controlled by meteorologists, executed a spiraling approach that confused Xelari targeting systems. Science vessels dove and banked in ways military ships never would, making them nearly impossible to hit. Martinez watched as the Xelari ships tried to regroup. Their formation was in chaos. "They're trying to establish a defensive sphere," she said. "Target their propulsion systems. Don't let them reorganize." The Earth fleet swarmed around the aliens like angry bees, striking from all directions. The smaller human vessels used their superior maneuverability, thanks to Dr. Bauman's modified mining rig technology, to dodge Xelari counterattacks. On his flagship, Commander Vexthar finally realized the truth. The scrap fleet wasn't primitive at all. It was a carefully designed trap that exploited every Xelari weakness. "Order a retreat," he commanded. "All ships prepare for faster-than-light jump." His second-in-command looked shocked. "Retreat? From primitives? Do it now," Vexthar shouted. before we lose more ships." The retreat order went out across the auxiliary fleet. The surviving ships began powering up their faster-than-light drives. Martinez saw the energy build up on her screens. "They're trying to escape," she said. "Activate Operation Lockdown." This was the role of Martinez's 5th Division, the one led by Sam Collins. For days, his team had been seeding space around the auxiliary fleet with specially designed devices. When activated, these devices created an energy field that disrupted faster-than-light travel. As the auxiliary ships attempted to jump away, their drives sputtered and failed. "Faster-than-light systems not responding," reported a terrified auxiliary officer. "We can't escape." Vexthar slammed his fist on his command console. How? How could humans do this to us? The answer came as more auxiliary ships exploded around him, hit by weapons they had laughed at just days before. With their escape cut off and their formation in chaos, the once mighty auxiliary fleet was now in serious trouble. More than a third of their ships had been damaged or destroyed. The rest were surrounded by Earth's vessels, which continued to exploit the 5-second vulnerability window during weapons charging. From her command ship, Lieutenant Martinez opened a communication channel to the auxiliary flagship. "Commander Vexthar, this is Lieutenant Olivia Martinez of Earth's Defense Force. Your fleet is surrounded, and your faster-than-light drives are disabled. We offer you the chance to surrender." Silence followed. Then Vexthar's face appeared on the screen. His blue skin had paled to an almost white color. The arrogance in his eyes was gone, replaced by shock and anger. "Surrender? To primitives? Impossible," he hissed. "Look at your situation, Commander," Martinez said calmly. "You've lost 27 ships. You can't escape. Every minute, you lose more vessels." As if to emphasize her point, another auxiliary cruiser exploded in the distance, hit by a group of modified weather satellites. "The auxiliary Dominion does not surrender," Vexthar insisted. Admiral Porter joined Martinez on the screen. "Then the auxiliary Dominion will be destroyed. You have 10 minutes to reconsider." The communication ended. Martinez turned to Porter. "Will he surrender?" "His pride may not let him," Porter replied. "But his officers might have different ideas." He was right. On the auxiliary flagship, the command crew was in near revolt. "We cannot win this battle," one officer argued. "These humans have found weaknesses we didn't know we had." "They tricked us," another added. "We thought they were primitive, but they were playing us from the beginning." A third officer stepped forward. "Commander, the 17 other worlds we conquered all fought us directly. None used these tactics. The humans are different." Vexthar didn't respond. He stared at the screens showing his once proud fleet being systematically taken apart by vessels he had laughed at just days before. Before the 10 minutes were up, the communication channel reopened. But it wasn't Vexthar on the screen. It was his second-in-command. "This is Sub-Commander Zeltar," the new face announced. "Commander Vexthar has been relieved of duty. We accept your surrender terms." The battle was over. Earth had won. In the days that followed, humanity learned more about the auxiliary. They had conquered 17 other worlds using the same tactics, overwhelming force and advanced technology. All those other species had tried to fight back with conventional weapons and military strategies. All had failed. None had tried Earth's approach, using the enemy's arrogance against them, finding specific weaknesses, and fighting with unconventional methods. 2 weeks after the battle, Earth's fleet returned home. The ships were battered and scorched, held together in places by makeshift repairs. But they flew proudly into Earth's orbit, greeted by cheers from every corner of the planet. In a ceremony broadcast worldwide, Admiral Porter presented medals to the key people who had made victory possible: Martinez, Collins, Bauman, Bennett, Rodriguez, Miller, Williams, Murphy, and many others. News of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy. The 17 conquered worlds, inspired by humanity's success, began their own rebellions using similar tactics. Within months, The Xilari Dominion was collapsing. In the repair bay of Earth's main space dock, Chief Engineer Murphy stood with Lieutenant Martinez, looking at the fleet that had saved humanity. "They're not pretty," Murphy said, patting the hull of a scorched satellite, "but they got the job done." Martinez smiled. "That's what humans have always done. Make greatness from what we have, not what we wish we had." A junior officer approached them. "Lieutenant, we've received a transmission from the Centauri system. Another alien species wants to establish contact." "Friendly?" Martinez asked. "They say they are, but they're heavily armed." Murphy and Martinez exchanged a look. "Should we be worried?" Murphy asked. Martinez looked at the battered but victorious fleet around them. "I don't think so. If they're smart, they'll be nice to us." She smiled. "And if they're not nice, well, they should be worried." As Earth prepared to meet its new visitors, one thing was certain: no one would laugh at humanity's fleet again. The scrap-built vessels that had saved Earth now had a new name, painted proudly on their hulls: the Victory Fleet. And across the galaxy, a new saying began to spread among spacefaring species: never mock what you don't understand, especially if it's human.